so excited for us to chat. We're going to be going over some tips for indie authors, and we're also going to be taking questions from those of you who are watching. A couple of you guys sent in questions beforehand, so we're also excited to chat about those. But before we jump right into it, I thought it would be great for us to do introductions. So I'm going to let you start, and then we'll just kind of chat about what we do.
Oh, okay. So just like, who am I? Okay.
Yeah, just a general introduction. Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, I am Monique D. Mensah. I am the owner of Make Your Mark Publishing Solutions. I am your personal self-publishing assistant. I turn manuscripts into masterpieces by handling the entire self-publishing process for indie authors, from editing to printing, everything in between, saving time, money, and a whole lot of stress. I am also an indie author myself. I self-published 5 books way back in the day, like 10 years ago, but I had some success, and it led me to offer this service to my indie friends to help us all self-publish high quality books. There's so much information out there, so many scammers out there too, so it can kind of get confusing. So I'm here to kind of like navigate the process for my indie friends.
Of course. Yeah, I love that. And we'll jump into this a little bit later, but those of you who don't follow Monique, she not only has great resources, but she presents them in such a comical way that's so relatable and just hilarious. So we'll talk about more of that later, but I think that definitely differentiates you. You really make it easy for anybody to understand how to be an indie author, which I think is so important.
Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Elizabeth. I am the social media manager for IngramSpark. And so anything that you see on our Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, I'm kind of masterminding behind the scenes. What I love most about what I do with IngramSpark is getting to profile the authors out there, just like all of you. And I love seeing your pictures. I love seeing your Spark unboxing videos. So keep sending those in. I really appreciate when you guys include us in your self-publishing journey. So thank you so much for being here today. Okay, so we're going to jump in with a couple of questions. As I mentioned, are we seeing any questions come through yet?
I just saw some people ask me what's the name of my business and what's my IG. So again, it's Make Your Mark Publishing Solutions. My IG name should be on here somewhere, but it's Make Your Mark PS. I just put it in the comments, you guys. That's all. I kind of caught my eye. I didn't scroll, so I don't know if you want to see something else.
Okay, that sounds good. So again, you guys can send in your questions. We're going to start with a few questions that we received beforehand, but we'll jump to audience questions at the end of this. So, okay, the first question for you, Monique, is your Tuesday tea videos. We have to talk about this. So they're so funny. They're great. What really inspired you to start posting those? Like, what was your journey to kind of finding out that type of content?
Okay, well, believe it or not, Tuesday Tea started kind of by accident. I started marketing my business, Make Your Mark, about a year ago when I went full time. And I always knew I wanted to do videos because I know that video is a powerful tool in social media and marketing in general. But I didn't really know how to go about it. I thought I would have to be like super professional, have on like a blazer and talk like this and say, hello, we're talking about self-publishing today. So that's how I started. But it was really uncomfortable for me. But I thought that's what I have to do, right? But in the meantime, I was like in my stories doing like just being me. Like I would just be in my robe or I would just be sharing whatever was on my mind, whether it had to do with self-publishing or not. Most of the time it was self-publishing. And I was just being myself. And that's when I started getting a lot of feedback from my followers who were really engaged with me just being me. So one day I was talking about a self-publishing topic and I was actually drinking coffee. Interesting fact, I don't even drink tea. But
so, I don't like tea, so.
So I'm drinking coffee and I'm talking about something I had posted on my page, and I kind of like sip my tea like, girl, let me tell y'all, and I sip my tea, and somebody said, oh girl, tell the tea. And I was like, oh, instead of Tuesday tips, which I was doing just as a post, I was like, I'll just make it Tuesday tea. So I took my personality from my stories, where I was so comfortable doing my stories, and brought it down to my actual page, and it kind of took off.
That's amazing. I think the main takeaway for like people who are watching this is don't be afraid to be your authentic self.
Yes.
It's kind of what you really learned through that. It's Don't try to feel like you have to be this certain person or this
Mm-hmm.
loud personality or whatever it is to be on social media. You can just be
Right.
yourself, and people really, they sense that when you're being true to yourself, and I think they really
Yep.
respond to it. So
Yes.
that's so cool.
Whatever yourself is, because I get
Right.
people who tell me like, I want to do videos, but I'm not funny like you. I'm like, well, if you're not funny, don't be funny.
Right.
Like, 'cause be whoever you are. And that's it. Like
Yes.
I said, people are attracted to authenticity. So whatever that
Right.
is, make it shine.
Yes. Yes. That is so good. Okay. So let's jump on to the next question. Any tips for marketing a new adult novel?
Tips
So,
for, well,
yeah.
is that for me or are you going to get that?
I think you should, I can chime in with some maybe social media tips on it, but I'd love to hear your perspective.
Sure. I think with self-publishing, whether it's a new adult novel or any genre, visibility is key in learning how to connect with your target reader. So I think the first step in any marketing campaign, especially with a new author, because you don't have that base or that platform already, is that you have to establish who you are. So you have to build your brand, figure out who you are as an author, what promise are you going to make to your readers and deliver on every time? What expectations can you set? What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? Figure out who you are, figure out who you're selling to. So yeah, it's an adult novel, but all adults are not going to read your book. All adults are not, it's not going to appeal to all adults. So specifically, who is it that you're marketing to? Who is it that you're trying to reach? Who's going to get the most benefit out of your book? So you pair who you are with who you're talking to, and then you try to find out where those people are. So when you're figuring out who they are, you can figure out where they are, right? So if your audience, they like to read adult novels, okay, let's say they also, I don't know, were 90s, they grew up in the 90s and they used to like to watch Friends, right?
Yes.
There's like communities for Friends watchers, right? Online and offline, whatever. You can find loads of people who fit your target reader by their interests and interact with them and engage with them that way. I would say that would be a good start.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's all great. I see a lot of people agreeing with you and they're like, yes, yes. So,
Yes.
I totally agree. I think definitely for new adult, because you're talking about probably a little bit of a younger reader, making sure you're on social platforms, that you're even thinking about building those platforms before you launch your book. I know that's something you talk a lot about. It's like, don't wait till the launch date to start posting content and building your platform.
Right.
Be thinking about that way ahead of time, and kind of hinting to what we, talked about before. Just be yourself. Do video content, talk about your book, and find those other things that your audience is interested in, just like you were saying. So those are all great.
Absolutely. And I would like to add really quickly though too, you want to make sure that whatever you're doing, like in whatever marketing efforts that you're doing, is you're offering value. So whether that value is entertainment or you're teaching them something, whatever that is, or you're fulfilling a need or whatever that is, you have to offer value. Because if you're offering value to these people and they trust you as a source, and they're going to come back to you, and they're going to be willing to pay for your book to get more of that value, even if it's fiction. Even if you're fulfilling some type of value for your reader, and you know that you're feeling that value because you've already identified exactly who you're marketing to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good. Yes. I love that. Okay. So next question. Okay. This again really ties into what we're talking about, but I love this question that I think someone sent in through your account. They said, how to be authentic when marketing on Instagram if you're unsure of who you are as an author?
Yeah, so I saw that question. I thought that was really interesting.
Yes.
Because I don't think you can if you don't know who you are as an author. I think you're going to be kind of scrambling, trying to figure out who you are, how you want to appeal to people. And if you don't take the time first to figure out your brands, at least take a shot at it. And keep in mind, like when you're building your brand as a beginner, like it doesn't have to be set in stone. You may get it wrong. You may say, okay, you know what? That's not exactly how I want to do things. After you start getting feedback from people, you kind of want to tweak it a little bit. You can do that, but you have to start with a foundation. So the short answer is I don't think you can. I think that you need, I think that you first need to establish your brand as an author, whether it's who you are in regular life could kind of coincide with who you are as an author, or you could create a persona and Be really
Right.
solid in that, you know, figure out, you know, what is your unique selling point? What pulls you apart? What makes you similar to other authors in your genre, but what also pulls you apart? What value do you offer? What feeling do you want to give your reader? What problem are you solving? All those types of things. How does your book fit into your readers' lives? You know,
Right.
what does your voice sound like to people? Every time someone comes to your social media page or your website or open your book, what can they expect to get from you? And how can you deliver that every time? Once you figure that out, and I'm not trying to sell myself, I promise, but I did create.
Sell yourself. Sell yourself.
Okay, cool, good. Elizabeth said I can. All right, so I have the bestseller branding workbook. It's one of the resources that I offer on my page. You can click the link in my bio after this live. The bestseller branding workbook helps you to build your brand and asks you those specific questions, gets you to brainstorm, to figure out who you are. That way, once you figure that out, then you can start being that authentic person every single time you show up. But make sure it's something that you can stick with, because you don't want to confuse your readers. You know, you might tweak little stuff, but your overall persona, your overall brand is something that you want to make sure that you're committed to, and you believe in and you can stick to, so you can deliver it authentically every time.
Yes, so good. I loved all of those tips. A lot of people are agreeing again in the comments. It sounds like really the root of the answer is, if you don't know who you are, you need to do some soul searching. You need to maybe ask people around you how they perceive you. If you're having a hard time gauging what that is. And I went to a branding conference recently, and they talked about maybe even just starting with 5 words. You know, you mentioned this, like, what are 5 things that you want to be, like, you want to represent? Right. How do you want to make people feel? You know, what value do you want to add? And just starting there, you can kind of start to build out what your platform could look like. So
yeah, and you just mentioned a really, really good one too, and that's part of it's in my branding workbook too. It's asking people around you. You know, if you really, I was just talking to someone recently. She's like, "Well, I have no idea." I'm like, "Well, what do people say about you?" Ask them. You know, and you may be putting off something that you don't even realize. You know, good or bad. And the thing is, if you don't take the time to intentionally create your brand, you're gonna create a brand anyway. It just might not be what you want. So you want to be intentional in it, so that it doesn't create itself and you're kind of stuck in this hole where people are expecting stuff out of you that you don't want them to expect.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point. We have a couple people chiming in here. I'm very clear on who I am as an author, finally. Yes, it's definitely
good.
That's such good news. This is really awesome. Thanks to you both. Thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Great tips. Let's just kind of sideline with this question here. They're saying, how would you recommend gradually shifting your brand if you have discovered different goals and passions?
Wow, that's a good question.
It's a very good question.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I guess it would depend on why you're shifting your brand. I don't think that, okay, so I'll give an example. So I had someone who, she has a page where she owns a gym. Like, she exercises, and that's all she's posting is just gym stuff. And she wrote a health book. And then she also wanted to write like erotica. And I'm like, well, the people that are following you for health and fitness probably aren't going to be too interested in your erotica stuff. So I advise that she kind of like start over. It's okay, I think, to have more than one brand, whether it's, you know, as an author, or maybe you have something that totally has nothing to do with books. I think it's okay to do that, and to keep them separate. But yeah, don't be afraid to start over. Like for social media, especially, people are afraid of that 0 follower count. It's so scary, right? They're like, well, I already have this brand built up with all these followers. I got 10,000 followers on this page. You have 10,000 people who are not going to buy your book because they're confused about what you're offering. If you've been setting this one brand for so long and presenting yourself as this, then that's what people expect. You start switching it up on them, they're going to be confused. Right. And they're not going to buy your book. So I think I had to talk myself through that one. But I think my answer is start over. Start from scratch with that new brand. What would you say, Elizabeth? You're the marketing guru.
I completely agree. I think that you're totally right. I think that people, maybe a common thing that happens for an indie author is they have a personal account, and then they're like, oh, I have this book and it's going to be this big thing and this is my value prop and all of that. And then they're like, I'll just build it off of my account where I share like pictures of my cat and like the kids. And
Right.
it might be time to like go back to the drawing board and maybe just start a brand new account. You can still have a personal account where you keep things personal, but then you have more of a business account where you have analytics on it. You know, you have graphics, and you're really focusing on connecting with your target audience, not your. So yeah,
absolutely. Don't be afraid to start. I started at 0. I started with 2 followers, my sister-in-law and my friends, and I posted and engaged like I had 2 million. Like, I'm just like, I'm gonna talk to these 2 people, like, you know, and present my brand to them, and it will grow. You have to be patient. Nothing is gonna happen overnight. You have to be consistent and patient.
Yes, that is so true. Okay, we're getting so many questions in here, which is fabulous. Let's answer one more of our questions that came in previously, and then we'll start with some audience questions.
Okay.
Okay, I wanna bring up this question because we got a lot of questions about reviews. So this one is, what's the most effective way to get reviews and translate those reviews into sales? So that's a pretty loaded question, but who better to answer?
I think that's like a whole live session. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am a firm believer that you must ask for what you want and don't be afraid of it. I've heard this thing where people think it's kind of like rude to ask for reviews, and I just don't understand that. Ask for reviews at every single turn. So one of my practices that I did for every one of my books, and I also do for my clients because I handle the design process for my clients' books as well, is I put it right in the book. Even the print copies, it's like, you turn to the last page. If you'd enjoyed this book, please leave an online review. If someone tells me that they've read my book, oh, thank you so much for your support. Would you please leave an online review? I'm posting it. I'm going to Amazon and I'm looking at those top reviewers who review books that are like mine or who are like yours, and you're asking them if they would review your book. They'd be willing to review your book. They're reviewers. They like doing that stuff, right? You can just outright ask them. A lot of times their contact information is listed there for that reason, for you to reach out to them. You can research bookstagrammers, book bloggers, make sure they're in your genre. There are sites that post reviews. That's all they do, is they post reviews specifically for books in your genre. So you're seeking out those things. But I think the common denominator in there is always ask at every turn. I remember for my first book, at the time, this was a lot. I got 200 reviews on my first book, and it was because I kept asking. Like, because you would think that, like, people assume that, oh, you read my book, you should know that I want you to do a review. No, you know, you have to ask people for what you want them to do. They may have all the best intentions in the world, but they don't know how much a review can help you. They don't know that the more reviews that you have, it tells Amazon's algorithm to show your book more. They don't know that. They don't know what that does for you. So just go ahead and ask them, and you'll find that a lot of people will be willing to, you know, definitely willing to help you out in that regard, and follow up with them. You know, you see if they actually left it and follow. Hey, did you maybe get a chance to leave a review? Thank you so much. You know, make sure you're not offering money, guys, for reviews, though. That's a no. Don't do that. Don't offer to pay people for reviews.
Yeah, someone just popped in here and said, such helpful advice. People, for the most part, love to help. And I completely agree. And now more than ever, with everything that's going on, you know, I think that you would really be surprised at how much people want to support you and help you. So that's a good point.
Absolutely. And returning them to sales. Social proof is powerful. So you want to show other people, you want to show everyone else that, hey, everybody else loves my book too, right? So post that on your social media, post it on your website. One of my little tricks that I did was I would send out art copies or just a few excerpt chapters to people before the book came out or from my previous book. And I would take excerpt blurbs and add them to my newest book. So I would have blurbs of reviews on the back cover or on the inside of the for the front matter. So that those work for you, because people will see those and say, oh, other people enjoyed it, or this book club enjoyed it, I'm probably going to enjoy it too. So make it as visible as possible. Try to convert those into buys for you.
That's awesome. Great advice. And I love how you really highlighted making it personal and just being authentic, putting it out there and asking for it. That's so fun. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back a little bit because I want us to jump into a few of these audience questions. We've been chatting now for about 20 minutes. So let's see.
Has it been 20 minutes already?
I know, it's just flying by. Okay. So this is an interesting question. Okay. I want to write an urban and a cozy romance at the same time. Tips for maintaining two personas and or brands simultaneously.
Well, I think we kind of covered it a little bit, but I think that you have to clearly define each one. I don't know. You said, what was it? Cozy
romance and urban.
Okay. So if you know, that the same reader is not buying those books, then again, you want to make sure that you're very specific in defining what those two brands are, what you're going to do for one, what you'll do for the other, how you want to sound like and look and present yourself for both of them, and create two separate, separate them completely, whether it be on social media, whether it be in your interviews, however you present yourself, make them completely separate and appeal to those readers. Understand that those readers may not be the same for those two genres. So you have to identify two separate readers. It could be kind of tricky to maintain two separate brands. But I will also, I don't know if it's necessary, if it's always necessary to use a pen name. Like in that case, when you're doing like the urban and romance, but sometimes it can be useful so that people don't get confused, or they're not expecting one thing from you and then being surprised when they get something else. I have a client right now who writes children's books in erotica. I'm like, girl, you need a pen name because you do not want.
Separate. Yes,
absolutely. Especially if they're a conflict, but creating that pen name could help you, kind of like get you into that character, get you into that persona, like become like, like they say, Beyonce is Sasha Fierce. Like she has this whole alter personality. Make it fun for you, make that alter personality for you, so you can separate your brands and attract those different audiences.
Yeah, no, that's so good. I think too, from a social perspective, something I've learned, if you're managing two different platforms at the same time, use like a social scheduling tool. There's tons of free ones out there. I love one called Later. There's Planoly that I actually think is offering free packages right now. So you can, if you're using a tool like that, then you're able to really separate the two. And when you're in that headspace, you can work on one, and then you can go work on the other, and it can help you not get confused, be posting back and forth. Okay, let's see. Oh, I thought this was a good question. Do you think authors need to have a writing blog on their website where they give out tips on how to write, or no, and why?
I don't think it's required. No. I mean, if you want to, but if you're not, no. I do think it's a good idea to have a blog, though. I do think it's a good idea to have a blog to talk about different subjects because it shows off your writing skills, especially if you're a new writer. People want to kind of like test the waters. I mean, we want to know that you can write before you buy your book, so it kind of gives you a taste of what you can have to offer. But some other topics you can do is like you can offer your tips and expertise on around your subject matter. Even if you're writing fiction, whatever those messages and things that you have in your book, you can write about those topics, current events that relate to your brand or your books. You can do character sketches, character interviews. You can talk about behind the scenes, the self-publishing process, talk about your own writing process. It doesn't necessarily have to be writing tips unless that's something that you think you're good at doing. Don't force yourself to do anything that does not come naturally well for you, because it just won't be good. Right.
No, that's such a great tip. Just kind of reading through a few more of these. We touched on this. This person is saying they want to release a children's book and a horror novel at the same time. Separating those platforms, maybe using a pen name. This is a good question. Hello, what is the process for book designing? How long does this process usually take to find your perfect cover?
I think that depends on who you're working with. And my client just asked that. I know who asked that. So, Brittany, when we start, I can tell you how my process is. I mean, you definitely, when you're self-publishing, you have to find these different people that you want to work with, right? So you have to find a cover designer, and they have to explain to you what their process is. I can tell you my process when I'm not a designer, but I facilitate the process, right? So I send in the concept that I discuss with my client. I give my ideas, they give theirs, and I send it over to the designers. I I leave it open for the designers to give their ideas as well. And then I have a team. So I give it to different designers. I say, hey, show me what you got. And they send me all these different design concepts. I do that for about a week. I give them about a week to give me all these different design concepts. And I'm talking about my process, y'all. My process, they would give me sometimes 10 to 15 different mock-ups depending on how inspired they are by this design. And then we narrow it down to the favorites, maybe 3 to 5 favorites, and then we do revisions, unlimited revisions, until we get a book cover that you love. So I would say the whole entire process is 2 weeks. I like to keep it confined to 2 weeks. Other designers, I know designers, some designers only give you about one to three mock-ups. Some only give you one. I mean, some take longer to go through the creative process. Some take a shorter time. So I would say 2 weeks is reasonable because that's what I do. But that's how it works with us.
No, those are really great tips. Sorry, I'm just going through and seeing if there's more questions. We did have, I have one more on my list, which is kind of a good segue. If you guys have more questions, drop them in the comments and we'll get to those. What is the average cost to self-publish a book?
Ooh. Okay, so I saw that question earlier and I thought about how I was going to answer that. Well, a lot of that depends. So editing is going to be a variable cost, right? So editing is going to depend on your word count. So how big is the book and what kind of editing you need. So developmental editing is going to cost more than copy editing. Copy editing is going to cost more than proofreading. If you get proofreading, some people don't. Some people just like hand it off to a friend to proofread. Proofreading should be done only after professional editing is done, by the way. So that, depending on who you go to and how big your book is, could be anywhere from a couple $100s to a couple $1,000. So that really depends on those factors. To break it, let's see, your cover design can be anywhere from, I would say, $300 to, I've seen $1,000 for a cover design. Your interior design can be anywhere from about $100 to about, I don't know, $500. So it all, right? You see the pattern here, it kind of ranges. It depends who you talk to. Can you get your book published for a couple $100? Yes. Will it look good? Maybe not. I do think that you should be willing to invest in your book and your book's production to make sure that you have hire professionals and you have quality designs and a quality editor. I would say be prepared to spend probably a couple $1,000s. I would say in the low, like $2,000, somewhere around there, including your editing. But don't like put that in stone. Like that really depends on the book. I do know that are some companies, like self-publishing companies, that are charging like $10,000, $15,000. It does not cost $10,000, $15,000 to self-publish a book. I don't care what your book is. So don't pay that. Okay. And then also keep in mind, if you're going to hire a self-publishing company, you're paying for the convenience of that company doing the work for you. So you are going to pay a premium. You're not just paying for the cost to get to self-publish the book. For your design and your interior and your editing, you're paying for the convenience of someone else's expertise for them to do it for you. So that's going to bump the price up a little bit more. So I would say, this is such a hard question to answer. You can expect somewhere between like $2,000 to $4,000 if you're paying a self-publishing company.
Right, that meaning like a consultant who would
right,
not like IngramSpark, but like a
right. That's what for the whole entire process. It's editing to holding the book in your hands. If you want to do it yourself, you're going to save a little bit of money, maybe like $1,500, including editing. $1,500. I don't know. Like I'm trying my best to give y'all a range.
Yeah, no, I think that's all. That's all you really can get.
Yeah.
I'll plug a few IngramSpark resources here. So first of all, we offer discounts with different experts on the expert section of our website. And those are exclusive discounts through IngramSpark. So definitely check that out if you're an IngramSpark customer and you're interested in accessing those. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but we also just launched a new promo code for free title setup and revisions. And that's valid until May 31st, 2020. So
yes.
Woo! Everybody do a clap emoji if you're excited.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
I'm excited.
And that promo code is IngramSpark, all caps, 2020. If you want free title setup and revisions.
Yes.
So those are some little tricks of the trade when it comes to IngramSpark. Thanks. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. We had 2 more questions come through. Let's answer these, and then we'll probably wrap up with a couple more resources for everybody. Let's see. This is one for me, I think. Besides Instagram, where's a good platform to attract YA readers? So I read this earlier, and I was kind of thinking on it. Instagram is obviously a great platform for the younger demographic. I would say definitely from, starting at age 18 and up. But if you're really trying to go after a YA reader, I think that TikTok is really interesting right now. And especially now, while most people are in quarantine, so many people are using TikTok.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot to be discovered there when it comes to book marketing. So I don't have all the answers because it's still fairly new, but I would definitely encourage you to open an account and even just get a feel for the audience. I think there's a lot to be learned about just the YA reader on that platform in general.
Yeah.
I think it can even inspire your writing, to be honest. So I think that TikTok could be really good for just getting visibility to your book, but then secondary to that, definitely Instagram. The hashtag Bookstagram, I believe, has over 30 million uses on Instagram. I mean, that alone just tells you how powerful the platform is when it comes to book awareness, and it can't be ignored. So Instagram is definitely key. And then here's a question for you, Monique. Could you touch more on the differences? Could you touch more on the different types of editing? There we go.
Oh, sure. So different types of editing. Now, different editors call some of these categories different things. So I'm just going to try to keep it real simple, right? So you can start off with copy editing or line editing. And what that is the editor is going line by line. I'm sorry, and I said you don't start off with this. I'm just naming them, not in a particular order. Okay, sorry. All right, so copy editing is when the editor is going line by line and they're checking for grammar, spelling, punctuation, inconsistencies, sentence structure, clarity, things like that. So the story is pretty solid, or not. If it's nonfiction, your message is pretty solid, your content is, but they're making sure that you're conveying it in a way that's going to come across easily to your reader so they'll be able to absorb it and actually get the value from it. So like I said, that's line by line, sentence structure and stuff like that. You're going to see a lot of markup and stuff with word track changes in it. Developmental editing also could be called substantive editing or structural editing. I call it developmental. That's more so looking at the manuscript as a whole. So how we're going to develop the story, or if it's nonfiction, develop the content and the message. So that could include like fixing plot holes, character development, moving stuff around, cutting stuff out, adding stuff in, changing the ending, changing the name, changing the title. Everything that has to do with developing that story is more on a broader scale. And I recommend that for a lot of first-time authors because, or even for your second book, you're just starting out. You may read a lot. You may be a pretty solid writer, but especially when it comes to certain genres, there's certain things that readers are expecting from those genres, and unless you have that, that guidance from an expert editor, you may not know how to hit those different points. So developmental editing is a good start for newer authors, definitely. And then proofreading. It's funny because I have a lot of people who would inquire with Make Your Mark and say, yeah, I just need you to proofread my manuscript. Proofreading. Yeah, no. Proofreading comes after your manuscript has been professionally edited. Okay. Professionally edited. Okay. Not your mom, not your best friend who got all A's in English. Okay. So after it's been professionally edited, that's when they're going to go through and they're going to pick up on whatever the professional, I'm going to keep saying that, professional editor may have missed. So that's going to be like typos, little punctuation, stuff like that, or little inconsistencies here and there, nothing major. It's nothing to improve the actual writing. It should be very light. So those are the 3 most basic kinds. There may be, little categories here and there that other editors call different things, but those are the most general ones.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's super helpful. Okay, one question that came through, I think about the promo code. Is that for ebook too? Yes, it's for print and ebook. If you guys were interested, and stay tuned to the IngramSpark account. I'll be posting more about the promo code in the coming days if you're interested in that. Okay, let's see. Do you want to do one more question and then wrap up? Okay.
Sure.
So we have, can you talk about marketing and PR for indie authors regarding hiring? So I don't know if this means like hiring like a marketing consultant or a PR company to maybe help you. But maybe let's just talk more so about like general things that they can do to get started with marketing or PR, I guess.
Okay.
Versus, yeah, I think that's what they mean. So
Okay.
maybe just do like, maybe we can just do like 3 kind of book marketing, tips or tricks.
Okay, sure. Well, I like to tell this story. When I first came out with my first book, it was in 2009. I had no idea how to market my book. But what I started doing, Instagram wasn't around. I was on Facebook, and people share like every part of their lives on Facebook, right? What they're eating, what they're doing. And so that's what I was doing. Like I was letting people in on my journey of, just writing, all of my emotions that I was going through, the difficult times, the triumphs, the challenges that I was having, the excitement. Oh my gosh, I got the cover mock-up in, all this stuff. And I didn't know at the time what I was doing was I was building like this platform of people who were on this journey with me and they were rooting for me. So I think a really good tip for new authors is to let people in on your process where they feel like they're connecting with you. So not only was I like sharing parts of my story just because I was just excited about it, like, oh my God, guys, this part I just wrote is so good. And I would share people all into it and stuff. So not only are you sharing your story and you're connecting with people who will be interested in reading it, but you're letting them in on it and they're rooting for you and they're like, can't wait for this book to come out because they've been on this journey with you. So let people in on your process. I think that's a good place to start for new authors.
That is so good because that really goes back to like kind of building your tribe,
Mm-hmm.
like building those people who they almost are invested in your success. And I think that's a cool thing to have people
Exactly
that are like, yeah, we want you to be successful because we've been there from the beginning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In terms of, I guess, PR, do you have any tips with that? I guess in getting like more exposure for your book, whether I guess that'd be more traditional or digital?
That's not really my expertise. I can tell you what things that I have done, and then I advise my clients during the self-publishing process. When I do the self-publishing process for them, we do have coaching sessions where I kind of like give tips and stuff, but I'm not a marketer. Like I'm not, that's not my expertise. But one of the bigger things I did to try to get exposure was I made sure that I attended a lot of different events. Well, I guess we can't really do that right now, but even before my book came out, I printed up some promo materials. One side was my book cover, the other side was my picture and a bio, and I would go to book events with absolutely no book, even when I had a book too, and I would introduce myself, talk to people, just spark up conversation. Everywhere I went, I took down email addresses, just like in person. Anytime someone talked to me and asked me, because most time when you meet somebody new, they're gonna say like, what do you do, right? So at the time I was a mortgage processor and I just forgot all about that. I'm an author. And if you tell me you're an author, the next person's gonna be, oh, what do you write? Oh, I write this. Bam, you hit them with the car. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You get to talking about the book and you have your elevator speech ready. You're ready to tell what your book is about in 1 to 2 sentences. You take down their email addresses. You reach out to your local media. You talk to I don't know about where everyone else is, but I know here you can reach out to local media and get on the news. You can get on the radio stations. You can get on different podcasts. You just have to reach out to people. One of the things I did that I thought was I was obsessed, right? I was looking for any opportunity. I would go to places and sell books and talk about my book that had nothing to do with books. So when you say events, people think, oh, go to book events. I was going to bars. Okay, I would go to a bar and like somebody who was having an event at that bar, like every Wednesday, they had like a wind down, cocktail event. I'm like, hey, you know what? I got this book. Would you mind if I came in and kind of talk and kind of set up a booth? And listen, y'all, people like when you sell books at their events because it makes them feel sophisticated, right? So they're like, we're going to have an author at our event, right? They like that. And a lot of times they didn't even charge me. and I'm the only author there, sitting there with this booth at this party, not the club, because people don't want to walk around the club with a book, but like a, a chill party, at this event, and people just walking up to me like, what the hell is she doing? Like, you selling books? Yeah, girl, that's what I'm doing. So the point is, like, I was just as visible as possible. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I needed for people to buy my book, they had to know that it existed. So no matter what I could do, I was just out there, just reaching out and trying to get my name out there. And guys, do not be afraid to be rejected. If somebody says no, so what? Right. I mean, it may sting a little bit, but keep it pushing, because all you need is the right yeses so that you can get your name out there and get noticed by the right people.
Yes, that is so good. And just a couple more little things, I guess, from a digital perspective, it's all a reach game. It's all about reaching more people on digital platforms. So I definitely encourage you to check out resources like, Hootsuite, their blog that they have in terms of what it's like to boost content. You don't have to spend a ton of money on these social platforms. You can have a very small budget and make a lot of headway. But make sure you educate yourself before you do it, so you're not wasting your money. And then at the same time too, reach out to what I'm calling nano influencers. These can be people on Instagram who maybe have 2,000 to 3,000 followers, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit smaller. But if they have a really engaged community, send them a free copy of your book and say, hey, I'd love for you to read this. Take a picture of it, post it on your feed, and give an honest review. And the people who are following those people are really invested in getting book recommendations, and it could really take you a long way. So I think making that investment in people who have really engaged platforms can pay off for you.
Absolutely. Make sure that those people have followers that are like your target reader, though.
Yes.
Because then it's just like waste time.
Very good point.
Yes.
Okay, so let's both end with like maybe a few resources that we both have. I know that you may have a few things in terms of the content that you post, and I have a few things for Spark. So I'll let you start, and then we'll wrap up.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, I am your personal self-publishing assistant. So I do offer tons of resources for my indie friends to help you with the self-publishing process. If you click the link in my bio after this live, then you can download a free self-publishing ebook. It tells you all about my experience self-publishing, as I kind of like stumbled through the process when I first started 10 years ago, to how you can avoid those stumbling blocks. I also have a free email marketing booster. I offer digital resources to help you with Instagram marketing for authors, as well as branding and pre-launch. Things you can do for pre-launch marketing, because you want to start marketing before your book comes out, and all of them are at a reasonable price. But I also offer a lot of free resources right there on my page. I give tips and resources every day. And as we mentioned, every Tuesday, I do Tuesday Tea, where I am giving you the tea on self-publishing, letting you know how to do it and how not to do it. Every single Tuesday. So please, guys, check it out, and I'd be more than happy to connect with you.
That's amazing. Yeah, definitely, guys. If you haven't checked out her Tuesday Tea videos, you can go binge watch those after this live.
There's like 50 of them, I think, now.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's amazing. What's tea? I love it. And then for IngramSpark, I mean, we have so many resources available. We actually have a 30-day writing challenge that you can sign up for via our link in bio. That's a great thing to do right now to keep you motivated and inspired. We also have a podcast called Go Publish Yourself. It's available wherever you stream. We interview real IngramSpark authors about their experience. We also tackle a lot of technical subjects like book metadata, book marketing, how to get your book into bookstores and libraries. We answer all of those questions on the podcast. It's so fun. All the information. If you guys would like us to do more lives, or you want Monique and I to, do a follow-up to this, let us know in the comments, because I think we didn't get to all the questions, but this was so fun. And
and there's so much more we could talk about.
I know. I feel like we could probably do a new live like every week and never run out of things to talk about.
Probably so. Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot to mention one of my main resources, you can request a free sample edit and quote. So I always advise people, if you're looking for an editor or a self-publishing company that offers editing, you want to get a sample of the work they're going to do for you. So click the link in my bio, you get a free sample edit and quote. We return it within 3 days, and you can decide whether or not Make Your Mark will be a good fit for you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. And like I mentioned before, I'll be sharing more about our promo codes that are coming up, our free title setup, and some other things that we have going on. Definitely stay tuned to IngramSpark, because we have some really exciting updates rolling out in the next 2 months that you don't want to miss.
Yes. I'm about to go use that promo code right now. Actually, I have a setup I have to do.
I love it. Well, and to everybody who missed portions of the live, I saw a few people asked that we would repeat things. This live will be available for 24 hours, and I'm going to do my best to get it up as an IGTV for those of you who missed part of it. Quick questions, podcast again, go publish yourself. It's available in our link in bio if you want to go find that. This was great. Yay. Awesome. Please do another. Yes, more live streams. You got it. More live streams coming at you.
They said the promo code. It's IngramSpark 2020, right?
Yes.
All caps. IngramSpark 2020.
Yes. Okay.
And it's going to save you some money.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We both just truly love the indie author community. And Monique, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. If your question wasn't answered, I see a few people saying that, just send me a DM and we'll get back to you.
Alrighty.
Okay. All right. Bye, Monique.
Thanks. Bye. See you later.